Everything changes outside Storm's End. Renly does not die in his tent. Melisandre's shadow never gets the clean opening, or Stannis is forced into battle before that magic can decide the war. So the brothers meet the old-fashioned way. Banners, cavalry, infantry and numbers. Stannis has discipline, the stronger legal claim, and men who respect him. But Renly has the Stormlords who followed Robert, the Reach behind him, and an army Stannis cannot match. Randyll Tarly, Mathis Rowan, Bryce Caron, Brienne, Loras Tyrell, and the Rainbow Guard are all part of a host built to win in the field. Once the fighting begins, Stannis' smaller army breaks. Some men die holding formation. Others surrender when they realise Renly is not just a pretender with pretty armour. He's Robert's brother with the larger army, the better supply line and the momentum. Stannis dies in the defeat, or is captured and removed quickly afterward. That ends the Baratheon split before it can save the Lannisters. Renly leaves Storm's End with the Stormland secured, the Reach committed and the only rival Baratheon claim destroyed. Hello everyone, and welcome to Storyteller's Codex. Here we delve deep into the rich lore of the Lord of the Rings, a song of ice and fire, and the vast worlds beyond. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Renly's victory is a disaster for King's Landing. Joffrey still sits the Iron Throne, but his regime is weak. Cersei has the crown, Tyrion has the job of keeping the city alive, and the small council is running on fear, debt, and improvisation. The capital has walls, gold cloaks, wildfire, and the chain across the Blackwater. Tyrion can still use alchemist guild stores, bronze sellswords, clansmen, and every dirty trick he can find. But those defences were meant to survive a narrow attack. Renly brings something much larger. He has Storm's End behind him, Highgarden behind him, and the largest food-producing region in Westeros feeding his march. Mace Tyrell wants his daughter as queen. Margaery's already positioned as Renly's bride. Loras wants glory. Randyll Tarly wants a war he can win properly. The Lannisters cannot count on a Tyrell rescue, because the Tyrells are already on the other side. That removes the great escape route for Joffrey. King's Landing is no longer waiting for Stannis to attack alone. It is waiting for Renly to arrive with half the south. Renly's march becomes political before it is military. Every castle on the road has to make a choice. Stay loyal to Joffrey, a cruel boy king surrounded by Lannisters, or accept Robert's charming younger brother backed by the Reach and the Stormlands. Renly does not need to sell himself as a hard man of law like Stannis. He sells stability. Mace Tyrell brings wagons, coin and grain. The Reach can feed soldiers and cities. That matters because King's Landing is already tense, crowded and hungry. Randyll Tarly gives the campaign teeth. He's not there for pageantry. He's one of the most competent commanders in the south, and his presence makes Renly's army more than a parade. The Stormlords give Renly Robert's old base. Houses like Caron, Estamont, Morrigan and Swan may not all love the Tyrells, but with Stannis gone, Renly is the only Baratheon left with an army. By the time he approaches the capital, Renly has numbers, supplies, siege strength, cavalry, and a public image Joffrey cannot match. The city is not just being attacked, it is being offered a new regime with food, glamour, and fewer reasons to die. King's Landing can resist, but it cannot hold for long. Tyrion still prepares well. He understands the danger faster than Cersei does. He strengthens the gates, uses wildfire, keeps the gold cloaks close, and tries to control Joffrey's stupidity. The problem is that morale is terrible. The small folk hate the crown. They already threw dung at Joffrey during the riot. They remember starving while the court feasted. The gold cloaks follow whoever pays them and survives. The court can see that Tywin is not there, Jaime is a prisoner, and Joffrey is not Robert. Renly's army has the Reach behind it, so food becomes a weapon. If the city opens the gates, Renly can feed it. If it resists, the siege gets ugly fast. Wildfire can damage ships, it can kill attackers, it can create panic on the river. But Renly does not need to gamble everything on one rush through the Blackwater. He can surround the city, pressure the gates, encourage betrayal inside and wait for hunger to do its work. Varys watches. Littlefinger calculates. The gold cloaks listen for the winning side. Eventually the capital breaks. Renly enters King's Landing as the Baratheon who ended Joffrey's rule. Joffrey's regime collapses quickly once the city turns. Cersei tries to secure Tommen and Myrcella. Tyrion tries to survive the fall of a government he was forced to defend. Sansa becomes a valuable hostage in a different court. The Kingsguard faces the same old question: protect the king or obey the king who is about to win? Renly has to decide what to do with the Lannister children. Killing them creates martyrs and invites Tywin's revenge. Keeping them alive gives him bargaining pieces. Margaery becomes queen, and the Tyrells immediately move to shape the new court. Tywin hears the news too late. He has been fighting Robb Stark and managing the Riverlands. Robb has already damaged Lannister prestige by defeating Jaime and threatening the Westerlands. Tywin cannot march into a capital held by Renly's full army, while Northern and Riverlord forces remain active behind him. So Tywin makes the cold choice. He retreats west. Casterly Rock becomes the centre of Lannister survival, not King's Landing. The Iron Throne is lost, but House Lannister is not dead. Renly's victory gives Robb Stark something he never gets otherwise: an exit. Robb has already proved himself. He beat Jaime in the Whispering Wood. He broke Lannister forces at the camps. The Riverlands rallied around him because Tywin's men burned their villages and Gregor Clegane turned the war brutal. But Robb's biggest problem was always distance. The longer he stayed south, the harder it became to hold the north, the Riverlands, the Freys, and his own bannermen together. With Joffrey removed and Tywin pushed back to the Westerlands, Robb can negotiate from strength. He does not need to keep chasing a war for the capital. Catelyn can push for the safety of Sansa and Arya. Edmure Tully can focus on restoring the Riverlands. The Blackfish can hold Riverrun without the entire northern host trapped in the south. Walder Frey loses leverage if Robb is not desperate. Rose Bolton loses opportunity if Robb is winning and heading home. The Red Wedding becomes much harder to arrange, because the conditions that made it possible are no longer lining up. Robb can turn north before his kingdom collapses behind him. Robb returning north changes Theon's entire story. Theon can still attack. Balon Greyjoy still wants the north because he prefers attacking a distracted enemy. Asher can still take Deepwood Motte. Victarion can still strike the western coast. The Ironborn still see Moat Cailin, the Stony Shore, and the northern coast as targets, but Winterfell does not stay isolated for long. If Theon takes the castle, he has less time to pretend he can hold it. Roderick Castle may still gather men. Ramsay Snow may still try to turn chaos into advantage. But Robb's return changes the calculation for every northern house. The Manderleys, Umbers, Karstarks, Glovers, Tallhearts, Mormonts, and Mountain clans are not leaderless fragments waiting for bad news from the south. Their king is alive, victorious, and coming home. That makes Rose Bolton's betrayal much riskier. Ramsay cannot quietly become the future of the north if the Starks recover Winterfell. Bran and Rickon's path may still become dangerous, especially if they flee before rescue arrives, but the Stark regime survives politically. The north is damaged by Ironborn raids, but not broken. Robb gets to do what he originally wanted: protect his family, punish his enemies, and secure his own kingdom. Renly's victory looks clean from the outside. Joffrey is gone. The city is fed. Margaery is queen. The Reach brings money, grain, knights, singers, tourneys, and the image of spring after Lannister terror. But Renly's throne has a structural problem. He owes too much to Highgarden. Mace Tyrell expects influence. Lena Tyrell will not sit quietly while weaker minds make decisions. Loras is already close to Renly. Margaery becomes the public face of the new regime. Randall Tarley, Garland Tyrell, Paxter Redwine, Mathis Rowan, and other Reach power players become central to the kingdom's military and political structure. That makes Renly popular, but dependent. He can reward Stormlords, but the Reach has the numbers. He can claim Robert's legacy, but the Tyrells control food. He can present himself as a fresh start, but many of the people around him are building a Tyrell-dominated court. This is not weakness in the simple sense. Renly is good at attraction, symbols, alliances, and court politics. That matters. But the Iron Throne is now tied to summer wealth, Reach ambition, and a queen's family that expects repayment. That creates enemies before Renly even sees them clearly. Dorne does not celebrate this new throne. The Martells hated the Lannisters for Elia, Rhaenys, and Aegon. Removing Joffrey helps, but it does not automatically create justice. Tywin is still alive at Casterly Rock. Gregor Clegane may still be protected, hidden, or traded away. Amory Lorch is dead, but the larger crime remains unresolved. Renly also comes wrapped in Tyrell power. That matters because Dorne and the Reach have old blood between them. Border wars, pride, raids, rival histories, and generations of distrust do not disappear because Renly is charming. Doran Martell will watch carefully. Oberyn will not be satisfied with polite letters. The Sand Snakes will see a court that wants peace more than justice. And Renly has incentives to avoid reopening the sack of King's Landing. If he goes too hard at Tywin, he restarts the Western War. If he gives Dorne everything it wants, he risks angering the Reach and destabilising the peace he just won. So Dorne stays cold, not openly hostile at first, just waiting. When Daenerys becomes more than a rumour, the choice becomes obvious. Dragons, Targaryen restoration, and revenge for Elia offer Dorne something Renly's Reach-backed throne probably cannot. Renly wins the capital, but he does not win Sunspear. Renly's victory solves the immediate war better than anyone expects. Stannis is gone. Joffrey is removed. King's Landing is stabilised. The Tyrells feed the city. Robb gets room to return north. Winterfell can be rescued. The Riverlands can breathe. Tywin retreats to Casterly Rock instead of ruling through the Iron Throne. For a while, this looks like the best possible outcome for Westeros. But the problems underneath are still alive. The Westerlands remain rich and dangerous. Tywin will rebuild. Cersei, Tommen, Myrcella and Tyrion are political pieces Renly cannot ignore. The Ironborn still raid when the north is distracted. Littlefinger will keep searching for cracks. Varys will not abandon the Targaryen plan just because Renly is more pleasant than Joffrey. And Dorne is the real long-term danger. A Reach-backed throne makes Sunspear cautious. If Daenerys lands with dragons, Unsullied, Dothraki, and a Targaryen claim, Doran and Oberyn have every reason to support her. That is the final problem for Renly. He is excellent at winning people who want peace, food, pageantry, and relief from Lannister rule. But dragons do not care how popular he is. Renly can win Storm's End, take King's Landing, save Robb's War, and still discover that holding Westeros is much harder than entering the Red Keep. If you're interested in The Lord of the Rings or A Song of Ice and Fire, click one of the links on the screen to dive deeper into the lore. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you next time.